Welcome to another episode of Life in Focus, where we dive into the world of real estate and business, the real life experiences and insights from our guest. I'm your host, Ben Tate, and today I'm here with a very special guest, Allan, who was a man of many trades and wears many hats, but specifically he's in the media and story creation business, so to speak. But I'll let him kind of dive in and kind of introduce himself and let us know what he's doing right now.
What's up, guys? My name is Allan. I have a video marketing and advertising agency. We help businesses get more leads through organic content and Facebook ads through creative storytelling. And I've been in it for about 6 to 7 years now.
Nice.
So it's been a really good journey. I felt like it's flown by, man. I feel like I just started yesterday when I just started learning how to pick up a camera and record and edit videos. Mm-hmm. Like I go back to like my first ever edited video, and I'm just surprised on how the progression has been throughout the years. So, and the lives that I've impacted, which I've never thought I was going to impact with my creativity. I thought I was just doing it for myself, but then as time went on, I ended up realizing how much it benefited other people and other businesses. So I love what I do. I love like constructing the team and that we have, to edit the videos, to make sure that their story is being told and it's being properly structured. So then, whenever we go and film with them, it flows efficiently and they feel comfortable with it, delivering their message and, just impacting their customer's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. Were you doing it full time for 6 or 7 years, or something that you started and you kind of phased into doing it full time, or how did that all kind of start?
Yeah. So I actually told the story the other day. I've told the story a lot. Yeah. So I started it because I actually had a podcast in Fort Myers. Okay. I don't know if you saw that.
I think I saw some clips. Yeah.
Yeah. It was called Toast to the Goodfellas. I did it with a friend of mine, and we did it. We started it in my living room. We set up mics like this in my dining room table. We brought friends over, and we started just talking about life and the struggles and obstacles that they're dealing with and their entrepreneurship journey. So we started doing it through there. It was audio only, and then we met somebody who had a studio space, and he's like, hey, come into the studio space, bring in your guests, and that'll be basically leads for me to rent out the studio space. So he offered to edit the audio for us. So then it was such a nice studio space that I'm like, all right, let me buy a camera. So I bought like a Canon T3i. And I just put it on a tripod, hit record. I didn't fix any settings on it. And I was like, all right, let me make some cool reels about it, because back then, like, reels started really popping off for Instagram. Yeah. So I was like, all right, let me just jump into this trend. And then I started making it. And then I had a friend of mine hit me up. He was filming basketball games in Fort Myers for a client of his. And he said, hey, I saw you have a camera. You can help me film some games? I'm like, yeah, sure. Because he lived in Gainesville. Okay. So then I started filming, and then he taught me how to use the settings and everything, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny too, like you said, like, a lot of times when people think about doing a podcast too, it's like they're trying to perfect everything. It's like analysis paralysis, what I'm saying? And just start it, It's like the content will get better. Either it's not for you or it is for you, or whatever the case is. But I think it's pretty cool that you're just like, hey, let's just start it and, kind of grow it from there. But
how did you, what made you want to start the podcast? This is a beautiful setup, and I saw that you're very consistent with it. So
I mean, I don't know, man. It's funny. A lot of stuff that I do is always kind of behind the scenes. Like, obviously I know a lot of people, I network a lot, but like, when it comes to being in front of the camera, like, that's not really my forte, so to speak, because I'm so low key with how I move and stuff. But at the same time, all my conversations that I have had on this podcast, they're really the same thing, whether the camera's on or off, And a lot of people are like, man, like, you should really like put that snippet out or put this out. And so, I was like, all right, I kind of compromise and say, listen, like, I'll get in front of the camera as long as I'm kind of promoting somebody else, And so that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I felt like a lot of the people that are in my network, I'm surrounded by a lot of people that are just hardworking and doing, a lot of positive things for themselves, for their community. And I've always made the argument that there's never a good time for you to brag about yourself unless you're in a job interview. Right. But most of the people that I'm surrounded by are trying to do their own thing. So they're trying to stay far away from job interviews, and just, I don't know, just kind of give people their flowers for what they've done to this point. And for myself and for the guests to kind of keep ourselves in check and hold ourselves accountable. Because, I wanted to have every guest on at least once or twice a year. And my whole goal was to basically kind of curate a community, right? So once I get to like 50 guests, it'll be the same 50 guests every year. Maybe some one-offs here and there, but for the listeners and people that tune in, they're kind of growing with the same 50 people over the next 10 years, 15 years, however long we can do this, And again, everything you speak about today and I speak about in a year from now, it's like, all right, what have we done since we spoke about it, And that's one thing that I've always appreciated about kind of like the social media the social media industry that we're kind of in right now is that, 3 years ago, everyone's an entrepreneur, which is all fine and dandy because we're going to find out in 5 years from now if they really were, right? And so a lot of stuff is found out, and I appreciate that kind of pressure, you know what I'm saying? And I know for some things you don't want to always show your whole hand publicly, right? Because sometimes you get that dopamine hit from speaking about it before you actually do it. I always call that like the bar talk,
Absolutely. Yeah, you lose that dopamine. Yeah. You can't talk about all your goals because then,
you almost feel like you've already done them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but there is something to be said about, hey, I'm going to go do this thing on this Friday and actually like, dang, 100 people know I'm going to do it. I got to do it. There's something to be said about that level of accountability. So, I kind of just started the podcast to highlight, again, people that are doing some cool stuff. And, hopefully people can get in touch with you if they need your services and or just, again, just to hold ourselves accountable to, the heights that we want to reach, you know what I'm saying? So
I love that, man, because I always tell people, and I love how you mentioned that being in front of the camera was kind of uncomfortable for you. Yeah. And I always tell people, everybody who I work with, you're not supposed to be comfortable in front of the camera. It's not normal for somebody to be comfortable like that.
Yeah.
So it takes practice, it takes repetition, it takes somebody being there with you and having a conversation like this to get comfortable, because it's just awkward. I'm looking at the camera, just speaking to it. Like they're not talking back to me. It's just pointing at me. So how am I going to be my authentic self?
Yeah.
So doing this and communicating and building a community, man, I think I applaud you for that, because it's not easy to do for a lot of people. And sometimes, and the way I look at social media, and I always tell people how you should look at social media, you're duplicating yourself. You're cloning yourself. You're being in many places at once.
Yeah.
You're one person, like physically right now. You're here right now, but online you could be in different
places,
counties, different cities.
Yeah.
So just off your video content.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I'm like, hey, listen, like think about it as you cloning yourself. You know, like you have a busy day with video. Now you're in different places all at once, because people are always on their phone scrolling. So they're always seeing your message and everything.
Yeah, man, and it's I think a lot of things too in life are about effort. You know, I don't think that, like, I know a lot of things are cliches, but I always say cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah.
And if we're able to live a long life, and they say, man, Allan lived like a cliche, you got a successful life, because you did things that were thought of to be generally true or the best way to live things, you know. And so I think effort is so underrated sometimes, and I think when we're hard on ourselves, I'm my own worst critic, and sometimes I have to look in the mirror and be like, man, I did put as much effort as I could in that 24 hours or that week or whatever the case is. And I think when you look back at the podcast, you can be like, all right, like, even though it wasn't perfect, it was ugly, like we put in some effort, you know what I'm saying? So, it's just one of those things. And, as you grow and maybe you have a family down the road, they can look back 10 years ago and be like, oh, this is what dad was thinking. This is what he was doing or whatever the case was. So I think that's important too, because the kids, whether your nieces, nephews, or your own kids, they figure out adults like we did, right? When you're younger, you figure out what adults are BSing you, which ones are actually about it. It was never about the actual success that they touched. It's about the effort that they put in.
Exactly. And that's why I mentioned when I looked at your podcast and your page beforehand, I saw the growth, and it left me in awe. And when people ask me, oh, should I delete the content that I had beforehand because I'm releasing this new content? I'm like, no, because once people see the content you're putting out and they see the quality of it, they're going to scroll through your page.
Yeah.
And when they scroll through your page, you're going to see on the bottom, wow, he started like this or she started like this. And they just see the growth and the elevation. You want to leave people with that wow factor. Sure. So think about like the Joe Rogan podcast. He started with a webcam in his room. And they get the first episode. And now he's got a beautiful studio in Austin. So it's stuff like that where people want to see the growth, and it inspires them to like, oh, there's room for growth in myself as well.
Absolutely. And to kind of put a ribbon on that, again, that's kind of why I love doing the podcast, is because the people that sit across from me inspire me. Because I know that they're working towards what they're working towards, and I'm getting goosebumps right now, because that's what life's about, right?
Exactly.
When we say again cliche that we want to be in these certain rooms or be at the table, it's because we want to be around greatness, or people that are chasing greatness, or people that are just, again, putting in the effort, bro. That's all it really is. You know what I'm saying? So even when it comes back to when you started the business, so when did you actually start your small business, and when did you decide to go 100 miles an hour?
So I started, what year is it, 2025 now? Damn, bro. 2020.
Okay.
Around 2020. That was like COVID, late 2020, where I decided, let me start making services. Let me start reaching out to people. Let me just start making more videos. And it started off with me just making videos and delivering it to people. But as time has changed, and the industry has been flooded with many people doing this in the creative industry, you've had to pivot and add more services and learn more skills and to apply it to the video industry. So it went from doing videos and delivering it to businesses to more where like, all right, now we're doing videos, but we're also social media managing and we're also advertising, because the goal is to help you get more leads. People want video, especially businesses, to get more business.
Get more leads and transactions.
The best way to track that is honestly through ads, because I mean, social media, organic content is cool to get like likes and views and all that. But as you know, it's not where like the biggest money maker is, you know? So we had to pivot and see, you know, how we can track things and help them, you know, grow their business, but also making sure that they post as well, because something that I realized was that it was cool making videos and people liked it, but people were still shy in posting it. So if they don't post it, then the feedback doesn't come back to me on how well it was. So I need you to post it and
so
to see what the reactions are, because it really just takes one person to look at it and be like, wow, I want that service as well, or I know somebody who needs that too. So it's very important not only to make and edit the video, but to also make sure that it's shown out there.
Absolutely. So question for you. When you're starting off, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs and their own endeavors face the same issue. When you're starting off, it's hard to say no to certain things, right? You're like saying yes to maybe 100 different things, but I've always made the case that you don't want to spread yourself too thin, right? Like you don't want to put less than 25% into a certain vertical, so to speak, right? And so I say you have maybe 4 different verticals that you can do well, because once you start spreading it out too thin. So how did you find that like happy medium between people saying, hey, can you do this, this, and this? And like technically you could do those things, but how did you kind of focus in and say, hey, like, yeah, I can do those 10 other things, but I want to focus on like podcast or social media marketing? Like how did you kind of figure out your service offerings that you wanted to like stick to?
First, you got to start off with filming everything. I think you find out by filming everything and then understanding exactly what you like and what you don't like. Like for example, I would film stuff that, nothing against women or anything like that, right? But let's say like a makeup type of shoot where that doesn't really relate to me. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I can make it emotional and all like that, but I don't really know their industry like that, nor I care to understand it more, because it's not something that I'm in. So that's something that I had to figure out by just filming.
Trial and error.
And it's funny because I filmed a lot of those videos.
Hey.
You know, like I have a good testimonies and a good amount of work showing that. But it's not something that I would dive into. You know, like so I think over time, and I think what I started when I first started to really do video and what I really liked to do was weddings, because well, my thing is creative storytelling, and then with weddings, you could tell a very emotional, deep story. So that was a good opportunity to do something like that. Whereas, like, you had to force something to make a good story out of it, where it's like, I'm not really that interested in it. And also, too, I think another thing that's very underrated in the creative industry is delegating the work. So one thing is filming, the other thing is pre-production and then post-production. There's a lot of services out there where you could just go do the service and then you're done. But for video, you go and do the service and you're not done. You have to still go back and do more work. So I think delegating that part of the creative to somebody else, you know, building a team of editors is probably the most important thing, and project managers, because I think at first you want to be the first point of contact with the client to make sure you're developing the relationship and you understand exactly what they need, and then making it come to life, and then making sure you communicate what that vision is to the person that you're building the team with and is editing. So I think it was hard for me to give up that control at first, because I felt like nobody could edit better than me. Nobody had the best creative vision than me. But I started to realize that whoever I hire, I want them to be a better editor. Because then they're going to do a better job. They're going to dedicate more time, and it's going to make everybody look better, and they're going to retain more business. So I think, you know, that it was very overwhelming to balance those 3 things with the pre-production, the filming, and the post-production. And I think once I started to get overwhelmed to the point where I was overwhelmed, where I had no other choice but to delegate it, then, you know, that helped out a lot. So, you know, start off with everything and see what you don't like. And then, you know, once you get to that point where you're overwhelmed, you know, it opens up the doors to delegate.
Absolutely. Which is super important for any business owner as well, because there's a guy on Instagram and he basically says somebody that can do 80% of what you can do is 100% awesome.
100%. Yeah.
You know?
100%.
And so, they say, hey, spend 10% of your time getting them started and 10% on the back end for a review. The other 80% is when they're doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because, your time is going to be best served getting more sales, right? At the end of the day, every business is sales at the top, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It could be NFL team. It could be media company. It could be real estate, right? So your time's going to be best served communicating to the client, right? Getting those clients, communicating to them, creating relationships with all these wedding venues, right? For instance, and getting on their approved vendor list so that they're basically marketing for you type thing. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can do from that perspective, but like you said, it all starts with delegation so people can keep the business flowing while you're getting more business. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. That's like the number one thing. Like it's hard as a creative. It's hard to think about the business side of things because you're so busy in the work.
Yeah, you're creating
in the business to where you got to think about, I got to grow this as well. But in order to grow it, I can't be in it as much as I really want to because I still love working on my personal projects.
Sure,
I'm a creative at heart. I didn't know I was a creative at heart until I started doing the podcast.
Yeah.
But I like to make time for those personal projects, so I have to make sure anybody that I'm working with, I dedicate the time that like we're properly prepared to, execute the vision that you have and that I have, and then communicating that effectively to the other person.
Absolutely.
And it's a whole effort, man.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of admin work, honestly. That's
the next person that you're going to hire, right?
Yeah.
Because first step is delegating the actual day to day, which is what you're doing, and then the next step is getting some level of administrative staff to manage that.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll work through you, right? But then you start making a list of, for instance, like your emails and to a point your text messages once you get like a separate business phone, like certain things like that.
Yeah.
All those tasks are not creating money for you, right? In the beginning, you're saving money by doing it yourself. But as you grow, you should basically never have to respond to an email. You should have somebody respond to all those emails for you, right?
Yeah.
They should be dictating your calendar, all that good stuff, so you could just wake up and move. You know what I'm saying? And let you create. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
exactly.
But it's also cool too. I think a lot of times people don't want to delegate because they're thinking like, oh, there's only $10 in the pot, and I have to go hire somebody. Now there's only $5 in the pot, whatever the case is. But they don't understand that when you hire somebody, that's marketing, right? Because that person, especially if they're enjoying what they're going to do, like they're basically a full-time marketer for you. Yeah, they're doing the job, but they're also like anybody that they know, that everyone that's in their friend group or whatever their network, they're going to know about your business because they're part of your business now. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? What do you think in regards to, because you're basically in a technology business, right? Because you rely on technology for your business. What's your thoughts on like kind of the innovation and technology is growing so quick with AI and all this good stuff? How are you staying like on top of that kind of stuff? And what do you have your eye on right now is in regards to maybe streamlining some of the things that you're doing now?
I love it. I use ChatGPT every single day to come up with scripts, to come up with certain wording for scripts and everything. And I think, a lot of creatives I've heard that are intimidated by AI, like, oh, it's going to take my job and take the editing away. But I feel like it's just going to speed up the process even more. So we just got to learn how to use that to our advantage. Like anybody who I write scripts for, I'm so grateful that there's something out there that helps me just clean everything up. Because as we all know, like just writing scripts and just starting from scratch and then making sure everything flows, man, it took a lot of time.
Absolutely,
that takes more time than the actual filming itself.
Yeah.
So I love it, and then when it regards to like all other automations out there. So right now I use Go High Level.
I know about it, but yeah.
Yeah, so Go High Level, I love it because it'll definitely, when I'm running ads and everything, it'll send the data back to the CRM, it'll create the lead, and it'll just send them follow-up emails and, follow-up marketing material. Yeah. So I think just using platforms like that is going to help me not only retain business, but to gain more business and, more affiliate marketing. So I think I love the automations. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm never threatened by automation because I think about it like this, like with a robot, right? How many times do you call customer service and the robot answers and you stay representative? Yeah. I'm like, man, it's gonna take a long time for them to realize, all right, this is exactly what they're asking and this is how we can help them. I mean, maybe sometime down the line, the future is gonna
probably get better, which will be better. Nice. Yeah.
But I think right now we still need humans.
For sure.
We still need humans managing the automations.
Absolutely.
So I feel like it just makes the work process a lot easier, dude.
I agree. At the end of the day, it's still going to come down to the content, which is still going to be like human based. or human led. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like I think too, people are like, you mentioned ChatGPT or Grok or any of these other like sources. It's like knowing how to use them too, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people would just like blatantly ask it a question and want the answer. And sometimes you can do that to start off a thought or get juices flowing. But I think the more you can input into ChatGPT or these sources, the better output you're going to get, just giving it some level of direction, which again is the human part of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So do you use any automations for real estate?
I have some team members that I work with. They use some automation programs, but I have a marketer that does like some Google ads and stuff like that. Okay. And I know that he uses some automation software, but really right now the most that I use is probably like Grok and stuff like that, just for like random stuff that I need to do and put together and be more concise with certain things. But for me, when I use those, again, I'm putting in a lot of the inputs and saying, hey, clean this up, reword this, rephrase this, reorganize, chronologize this, stuff like that type thing. But,
So exactly. So you still have to get in there and do that, which is why nobody should ever feel threatened with it. Even when it comes to editing videos, there's a software. It's called Autopod, where it cuts up. You do a podcast. I don't know if you use it for this, but it cuts up
like reels and stuff.
Yeah, it cuts up like the camera angles.
Oh, gotcha.
But you have to have it set up so perfectly. If you don't have it set up perfectly, it's just not going to recognize it.
Yeah.
I've tried it once, and it cut up the camera angles. It did okay, but I still had to go in there and refine it. Yeah. And for the amount of time I had to go and refine it, I should have just done it myself.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is sometimes. Yeah.
Like it's got to be like absolutely perfect, and it's probably got to be short.
Yeah.
So someone's still got to manage it, even with editing videos too. When you do the subtitles and like the hot clips of the podcast.
Yeah. Sometimes they put different words in there for the subtitles, whatever.
The thing is with our team, right? The biggest thing that I always tell anybody who's on the team, when they're editing a podcast or editing a video, I need you to manipulate footage.
Right.
Because if you're just picking out a scene from 30 seconds to 50 seconds and just editing that, you have to be careful of just editing it straight like that, because something he said in 45 seconds, you could probably put in the beginning, and it'll make the video a little more entertaining.
Yeah.
That's where like the hook comes in.
Right.
Then if you just edit it just straight 20 second, like that 20-second clip.
Right.
Like, so I'm looking for creativity like that. And I actually have a couple YouTube videos on it where I'm actually like, all right, this is what he said here, and I could just move this piece to this piece, cut out here, and then make it flow correctly. So that's something that AI still can't do.
Can't do, because I don't have they can't do that yet. But it's getting better, and I agree, man. I think all those things are positive. I mean, any advancement that we've had in our lifetime, whether it's cell phones, internet, etc., it's always been for the better.
100%.
Obviously with good things comes new challenges. You got to figure out what's real, what's not. You got trolls online, but it's like you could focus on the good things or the bad things. That's how everything is in life. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's just one of those things.
I choose to focus on the good things. I got to keep myself positive and surround myself with positive, influencing people all the time.
Especially if you're creating. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So what's I know you've done some cool projects. I know one of the cool ones I saw you're part of was working with Coach Staley. How did that project come to be? How'd you get that connection, and what was that project?
Yeah, it was. We were filming for Nike in Chicago back in July, last year, and a friend of mine, he has a marketing company too, so he's in Fort Myers, and he had a team already out there filming, editing, and he needed somebody else to go and help him, get footage and edit. So, I had that connection with him. And then he just flew me out to Chicago. I met the team.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And there's a bunch of college coaches out there. You had Dawn Staley. I forgot what the coach's name from LSU is, but she's like a really big name. Yeah, and it from all the big schools you could think of, they were all there.
Was it a recruiting for high school, or what was it? Was it a college tournament?
Recruiting for college.
Recruiting for
college. So it was it was a high school girls tournament.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that they hosted that. So it was like hundreds of schools from around the world.
Yeah.
And I think they were just filming in Phoenix not too long ago.
Okay.
And it was great because we ended up splitting up the team to where we had a couple videographers getting footage of the games, and then I was in charge of getting testimonials from the coaches and from other staff members, and it could be a little intimidating.
Yeah, for sure.
Talking to somebody like Dawn Staley, because she's like
she ain't about no BS.
Yeah, she ain't about no BS. She's a champion.
Yeah.
She's in there for business. Yeah. So she was locked in on the games. and making sure that she's scouting the players.
Sure, she's there for a reason.
Yeah. I remember that game we went to go interview her at. The #1 high school player was playing in that game. So I'm like, obviously,
she's locked in.
She's gonna recruit her.
Yeah,
so she wants to see how she plays. But a lot of people were surrounding her, like, oh my God, let me get a picture and everything like that. But we're creating content for the whole event.
Right.
So we're like, yo, step aside. We got to get in there and get the interview with her. But we wanted to make sure we asked her a good question.
Sure.
Because we don't want to just ask a question that's just going to waste your time.
Yeah.
You know, because
so what's that process? Is that you in your boys just kind of going back and forth? Is this a good question? Is this a good question? Or like, how do you like determine that? Yeah.
It's exactly like that. And we went about it like, all right, well, I went to go film the video. I had the microphone and I had my friend ask the question because he's just a better, well-spoken person.
Sure.
You know, so I'm like, whoever is the best at whatever they're doing, have them do that.
Sure.
So I filmed the video, I edited the video, and then we like, all right, so let's drop the question to see how, you know, what's her take on the elevation of women's sports and girls sports and where she sees the future of it, because the WNBA is a really big thing now.
Sure.
And
I would argue it's not more popular than the NBA, but I would say they had more popular headlines in 2024 than the NBA did.
Yeah.
I would say.
Exactly. So before we went to go interview her, we asked her if we could interview her. And then she said, yeah, I got like 2 minutes. And it was at halftime.
That's such a funny answer, too.
Yeah.
Imagine to get to that level where you're like, I got 2 minutes out of my 24 hours.
Honestly, we only really need you for 30 seconds. You know, so I'm like, we'll get you at halftime. So then we went back. I'm like, all right, this is the question we're going to ask her. We want to make sure it impacts the girls' community. And we're going to post it on the page. And ended up getting a lot of traction as we thought it would, because Dawn Staley is...
Yeah, she's the GOAT.
She's the GOAT in that industry.
No, that's awesome. Have you? So I'm assuming like... I mean, doing content like that obviously is a great experience. You're around a legend, learning, like you said, even tiptoeing around the questions that you would ask. You may not even spend that much time deliberating what questions you're going to ask for a different person, right? So, like, that's a great experience. But more importantly, that's like additional proof of concept for other people that want to, you know, hire you or see what you can do. It's like, hey, if she can, because they don't really know maybe until they listen to this how that came to be, right? So they could be like, maybe Dawn called them directly, or you know, you don't really know how it started, you know. And so sometimes the imagination is better than what the facts are or what it is, because people are like, oh, you never know, you know. But
sometimes you just gotta be ready at all moments, because at that we knew that there was gonna be a lot of big faces at that event. We just didn't know when they were gonna be there and who it was really gonna be. Because Sabrina Ionescu, she's one of the top WNBA players right now. She apparently was going to be there, but I think she was traveling with the Olympic team at the time. So
around the same time,
she couldn't make it out there. But there was rumors that she was going to be there, so if she was going to be there, we had to be prepared to be like, all right, let's get some content here.
Absolutely,
because it was just such a huge event. But we split up the team so well to where like we're able to pump out content really quick. You know. Everything that we filmed, we would give it to the editors upstairs, and sometimes I would edit, and they would cut it and post it immediately. They'll manage it. So it was a very, it flowed very well, and it's something that I think, you know, just thinking about WNBA and women's sports and everything in general in the women's industry, there's a lot of leaders out there, and it's important to showcase those leaders.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm grateful that I had that opportunity to do that.
It seems like a really good opportunity. What would you say has been like the biggest challenge since of running your business, or since you've gone full time with it? What's been the biggest challenge, do you think?
I think the industry being just
saturated,
a low barrier to entry.
Low barrier to entry, So it saturates it a little bit.
Yep. When there's a low barrier to entry, it saturates it a lot. And I don't like using the word saturated, because I feel like when you use the word saturated, it means that everybody's doing the same thing. And that's why it's so important to differentiate your brand. And I'm very happy and lucky that the name I'm Your Storyteller was still available when I chose it. When I looked for it on Instagram, I'm like, what? I'm like, I got to change my name right now. I can't think twice. So I think that name itself has helped me get more people and helped me connect with more people. Because what I've realized too is, you know, I think a lot of people are going to look at video in the creative industry and they'll try to get the lowest price on it, because there's so many people out there doing it. That's why I try to use my relationship building to my advantage, because I know the quality and the skill set is going to be there, because I have the quality camera and I know editors who do a really good job. But if I can help them get results, help them with the vision, show value in the person that I am, then that's going to win me that relationship. Is going to win me more business.
Well,
So yeah, that you go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's because I think what separates you is you wear multiple hats, right? That's what I
Yeah.
was saying in the intro. Is like, yeah, you go with the camera, but you can't edit if you need to. And knowing how to do it is very important because you can't lead other people to do it if you don't really know, if you can't lead them, right? So
Right.
because you can wear the editing hat if you need to, the camera, the recording hat, the directing hat, which is arguably the most important hat.
Yes.
You know, and so sometimes, people will show up, like you said, with less experience that just have the camera and they expect you, if I'm coming to you and I'm like, all right, so what do you want to do? It should be the other way around, right? Where I'm like, hey, I'm hiring you. Like, what do you see as a path forward, So
Right.
I think that's what probably differentiates, from the average person that's like, hey, like, I can give you some direction, or other person that's just like, I just got a camera, So it's like,
yeah, exactly. And that's why it's really important to use social media to your advantage, even as somebody who creates, because I had a lot of imposter syndrome and a lot of hesitation even filming for myself. So I had to think, if I'm telling people that they shouldn't be shy and they should be promoting themselves in front of the camera, why aren't I doing the same? Why am I not listening to my own advice? It makes I'm contradicting myself at that point.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to just get over that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm creating for people. So anytime I go and do something, I make sure I have some behind the scenes, because they need to see the process.
Absolutely.
They need to see exactly how I
people love the
communicate
behind
things.
the scenes too, man. Even on the real estate side of things, a lot of times people only post a picture when they're at the closing table or with the closing basket, or when they have the keys outside the house. And it's like, anybody that's interested in buying a home that's never done it before, they assume that, right? It's like when you run a race, we assume if you run the race, you're going to cross the finish line. We assume that's part of it. We assume that you might get the little medal at the end or whatever. What we don't know is what it took to start that race and to get to the position to finish it, right? How many days are you running per week? How many hours are you running per week, right? Are you running when it's cold outside? Are you running only when it's hot? It's like the behind the scenes is really what gives people information to see if it's something for them or something that's even attainable for them, So I think a lot of times we're so worried about the finished product that it's like, I think I agree so much, man. The behind the scenes is, especially in real estate, it's the best content that you can post. Don't show me when the house is finished. Show me when the house is getting built, Show me when we're putting drywall up or when we're doing the trim or stuff like that. Like, oh man, there's a lot of craftsmanship that goes along with this, or whatever the case is, not just like, oh, here's a finished product, because like, we can all Google what a finished product looks like.
That's why I'm very, exactly. And that's why I'm very adamant when I tell people, document every single little thing that you do.
Yeah.
Because
Never
that whatever you film right now in 3 years, that can be used to your advantage. The most simplest photo, the most ugliest photo that you think is ugly then, but then when you use it later on, again, people see, you want to leave people in that wow and awe factor.
Absolutely.
That, oh, wow, like that is what he came from. That is what she came from. That is the process that they had to accomplish what they're at right now. Because, everybody wants to see the fruits of the labor, but they don't want to see the labor. And the labor is where you actually,
that's everything.
When you're in the trenches, that's when you build the most relationships.
Absolutely.
Right there. Because a lot of times social media it's like a highlight reel.
Highlight reel, that's what it is. Yeah.
And it's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
But I try to not make it too much of a highlight reel.
Sure.
I don't know if you've seen some of my videos that I've talked about some very vulnerable, deep things, because I'm just not afraid anymore to just show who I am as a person. I'm not a guru out there. I've had struggles myself. Everybody has had struggles, and I think that also gives me the advantage, I feel like, over other people. Even though like I'm not really competing against anybody, because I still help out all the creators out there that reach out to me, and I reach out to them, vice versa. But I think it helps me stand out more if I'm more open with my personality and talking about real life stuff. So I try to help businesses be like, all right, how can we relate your real life stuff to your business so we can connect more with your customers? Because vulnerability takes you a long way, especially in social media.
Absolutely. Well, because the vulnerability is what makes social media feel a little bit genuine for a split second. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like anything we enjoy. Like if you enjoy football or basketball, it's like, the highlights are great if I miss the game, but in a perfect world, I'd watch the whole game. I want to see when I thought we were going to lose before I knew we were going to win. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
the adrenaline rush.
Exactly. It's like the ball's in there, like, but no, I totally agree with what you're saying. So what about, 2025 just started. Do you have any big projects in the works right now that you're excited about? Or what's your, I always tell people they should have like one major goal when they look back on the year, that without without thinking, like 2024, this was that year, right? 2024, I met, Coach Staley and did that cool thing in Chicago, right? So like 2025, is there something that you already have in the works, or is something that you want to, complete before the end of the year?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me going into this year, and it's not more of a work thing, but I want to build more relationship with God, faith
Yeah.
driven, because I think the mindset of it all, because it's like with the video industry, and there's a lot of things that have changed throughout the years, these past couple of years in regards to like what I'm dealing with right now with my company. And I feel like it's been very challenging, but also rewarding. So it's been like up and down, up and down. Whereas I don't want it to feel like challenge or a negative thing. I just always want it to feel like a good thing. So I think building a relationship with God, having more faith, will help me get some more stuff done. And I feel like it's helped me a lot already, because
absolutely.
I started last year. Now this year I want to strengthen that. So I think that's going to help me not only get more clients, but to get better clients,
The right clients.
To help them increase revenue in their business through ads and social media content. So I don't know what that number is. Like, I feel like having five really, really good clients, just established clients is good enough. I think it's a good enough workload right there, and just helping them reach their business goals. So their business goals vary differently, someone to reach over $1 million in sales, someone to reach over, just over 300K in their first year, something like that. So I want to not only help them reach it, but help them crush it.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing for me. If I could develop those relationships, and because I know if I develop those relationships, those strong relationships, that's going to lead to more better relationships going forward.
Absolutely. And everything in business is relationship based and communication. And I'm very faith based myself, and I'm a strong believer that as you grow your faith, you become a better leader. And a better servant, which is funny, kind of oxymoron. But obviously, if you're strong in faith, you want to be a servant to those around you. And the more you can serve the people that work for you, because you kind of work for them, even though they work for you, in that kind of weird circle, the better work that they'll do. And, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and another thing, too, is I want to be a lot more giving as well. And I'm not saying I'm selfish, right? But I definitely, the serving aspect of things, and they said this at church when I went a couple of weeks ago about if you're not feeling so well, if you feel lost, then start serving. And I realized that every time I serve, whether that's serving the product that I'm delivering and then making them feel good, if they feel good, I feel good.
Sure.
So I got to detach from the monetary aspect of that and just do it more faithfully.
Sure.
In the faithful aspect of it. So I think having more of a giving heart, right? And for my clients right now, anybody who I work with, bro, I go above and beyond for them.
That's good.
Even if the plan I have doesn't work, I always have something in the background where I'm like, I know I could compensate that loss by doing this.
Yep.
And I don't care if I make money or if I lose money at the time. I just want to make sure that they're satisfied because the reputation is everything.
Yeah, the brand's everything.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes the best marketing is just crushing a current project on your plate.
Right.
So that you have word of mouth and return customers, whatever the case may be, or a consistent customer, right? Like you said, if I have 5 consistent clients that essentially you're on retainer, so to speak, because you're doing all their projects for them and you're growing with them. I mean, as long as they're growing, they're going to keep you around, right? Or not just you, but anything else that's working. It's like you don't fix something that's working. You know what I'm saying? No, I think that's super powerful. So where would you say you're getting most of your leads right now?
Right now it's word of mouth.
Just word of mouth?
Word of mouth and from current past clients.
Okay. How can people reach you? Like, what's the best mode of reaching you? Just on your Instagram? Do you have a website, or what's like the
Instagram. I'm actually redoing a website right now because I had something set up last year, and there's a lot of things that I needed to update. So I'm like, let me just shut this off, because there's a lot more other things. So I'm restructuring that right now. But just through my Instagram, that's the best way. And then if they want to talk about doing more work together, then I'll send them a Calendar link, and we'll schedule a call. We'll talk about exactly what they're looking for in their business goals, and then we'll schedule another call if everything makes sense. If we align, like, hey, this is what I offer, this is what you're looking for, and if you really want to move forward with it, I'll give them the price and everything, like a price range, and if they like it, like, okay, cool, then let's just move forward and talk about the structure and when we're gonna proceed with it.
Gotcha. So right now, I'm assuming like a lot of the work that you do that's like either by yourself or whatever is probably work from home, anywhere you can get on Wi-Fi with a computer.
Yep.
Probably makes the most sense with what you're doing because you want to be nimble. You want to, obviously, a lot of stuff you're out in the field, you're in different offices and stuff. But do you have a goal of down the road to have like a brick and mortar like building or warehouse that you can do some stuff, or is that not really kind of in your horizon right now, or what are you thinking?
I've had thoughts of it about having my own studio space to where I can just rent out for podcasts, have the setup, and just create short form and all that. I've thought about it. It's still in the works, kind of like in the works of my mind. See if it makes sense with what I'm offering. Because the thing is, I'm getting really involved with the advertising stuff as well.
Yeah.
So the advertising stuff, sometimes you don't really need the studio space because you could just go film it out there wherever with an iPhone, and then I could just be able to manage that, right? And then work on the creative whenever through any office.
Sure.
So it's kind of like it's like I gotta pin it.
Yeah.
And I gotta see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's on the board, but we'll see if it makes sense, which I think is super smart. I think a lot of times, again, when people have a business idea or they've been in business for a little bit, they think they need everything else that somebody else is already doing, but it's like it may not make sense for like your path or like what's actually bringing revenue in.
So I know in the Miami market, I have a friend of mine who's just killing it with a rental space.
Nice.
I've done the research here in Tampa, and there's still not a lot of people really doing it like that. So there is opportunity, but at the same time, it's still Miami's just way bigger than Tampa right now. Way bigger, and a lot more people go over there than over here whenever they come from a different state.
Yeah.
And when you go to Miami, it's all about the like, oh yeah, man, I got to show out there. They got to flash and everything like that. So it's a good market to do that stuff. And here, I feel like that market's still developing.
Sure.
So that's why I'm just kind of like, it looks cool. I don't know if I want to dedicate all my time to it.
It's a lot of risk too from the onset.
Exactly. And it's a lot of risk.
Yeah. So I think what you're doing is what you're doing right now, just taking it step by step, see what kind of makes sense, is obviously mitigating risk. And
using spaces every now and then if I need to use a space. Yeah.
What about so like more like on the under the hood on the business side of things? Have you started growing your business credit for your business?
I have business credit.
Yeah, business credit?
Yeah, I have business credit. I got that back in like late 2023.
Okay, that's good. So you've been able to leverage that for like obviously business credit cards or like line of credit for equipment and stuff like that?
Yeah, I try not to do too much because a lot of the equipment that I have right now, I use it, just keep it steady. Like I don't want to buy so much equipment unless I know for a fact, I'm going to pay this off immediately.
Right.
Once I use it, like I need this right now. Like let's say I need to find a crazy drone shot. I mean, I have a drone.
Yeah.
But if I needed one and I was gonna do a shoot, then I would go buy the drone and then just pay it off. Yeah. But everything I do right now, like I'm grateful that everything's pretty set up. I had like microphones, the cameras, different angles,
pretty much
lighting.
Everything you need to get going.
Yeah. But I definitely agree that business credit is super, super important to have because you just never know when you need something.
Right.
And you just need to invest in it. I mean, even for ad spend, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What about giving advice to somebody else that might, they think they're creative as well, they're interested in it, they hear what you're saying now, they're like, man, this seems like feasible, right? Would you suggest that they just jump off the deep end and get a camera and some mics and stuff like that? Or would you suggest they try to get in contact with somebody like you, if not you, to see, hey, can I come do some part-time with you? Just to get my feet wet and really understand what the grind is like? Or, I know you kind of jumped into it, right? And started a podcast, started doing these things, bought a camera, just got your feet wet. Do you think that's the best way to go now that you've done that? Or do you think it's better to kind of work with somebody for a little bit, get mentored, so to speak, before you go off on your own?
I think both is good. Starting off getting equipment, first of all, I wouldn't go and spend a bag on equipment, like so much money on it, because you don't want to just break the bank.
Not know how to use it too.
And not know how to use it. It's going to take a while to make up the money for it. So if you really want to go and film videos, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the iPhone films a pretty good video, man.
For sure.
I'm not going to lie.
I started my podcast on 2 iPhones. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
They film pretty good video. And I've done some iPhone videos, just because like I didn't have the camera and I was like, all right, let me just do this for fun.
Sure.
Yo, you can do some
cool.
Got
a nice tripod, the stabilizer, you're
if
good.
If you got a good tripod and a stabilizer, you're good.
Yeah.
And just use that, create something off of that.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, all right, I want to make it to look a little more cinematic and make it look and do these cool effects, then you can start looking at a camera. But I would say, dude, start off with your phone, because I know a lot of people who have content agencies that they started off with using their phone.
Yeah.
And they would charge clients, hey, I would create content for you. They'll bring the stabilizer and everything. They'll make money off of that, off of the device that they already have, and then using that money that they make to invest it in the business to buy another camera. So start off like that if you're ever interested in doing video, or even photos too, because they have good photo features as well if you like doing photos. And then also shadowing somebody, dude, like shadowing somebody is probably the best thing that you can do. I know people say, oh, you shouldn't work for free, but in this field,
you're still getting so much value. So like it's hard to say it's for free, you know?
And it's also not for free, because it's only going to benefit you, because if you use it to your advantage, to where you're helping somebody out, all that stuff that you record for them, and then you could probably record yourself.
Yeah.
You could use that as an asset later on.
Absolutely.
You know, whenever you're promoting your business. The other day, I just dropped a video on YouTube talking about just the intro to the Storyteller brand. And dude, it took me so long grabbing footage from years ago and photos, and I was like, all right, let me upload it to the Google Drive. I'm gonna put it into this video. And I had a couple of people reach out like, bro, thank you for including me in your new video. And I'm like, just reconnecting and making those connections again. So then I keep them in top of mind, like, oh, you know, making people know, like, just remind them that I still exist, that I do video. So yeah, man, I mean, anything that you do, it's always going to be an asset later on. So I always say, definitely learn from them. See how they set up the camera, see how they set up the settings, see how they communicate with the client. Like, you have to be exposed to that, because one thing is, a lot of people see, you know, a lot of customers and clients, they see, oh yeah, just hit record and do that. It's like, no, dude, like that's the easiest part.
That's when everything else is already teed up.
It's like, I always tell people, every time before you get on the camera, I feel like we already know each other, and you know exactly what you're gonna present. So when we're filming, moves like clockwork.
Absolutely.
That's it. So young creatives need to understand that.
Right.
Because one thing about being creative is cool creating like that, but when you're dealing with other people,
money on the line, their time's on the line, everything.
It's more about them.
Absolutely.
So they got to be exposed to that.
Yeah, I agree, because I think theory can only take you so far. You need to learn application. And so
absolutely.
Either you go work for free and shadow somebody, or you pay them to shadow them, right? It's like you got to pay to be taught something anyways, right? So again, it's tough to say you're working for free, like you said, because you know you're not. You're getting so much value by just shadowing them if they allow you to. You know what I'm saying? So no, that's awesome. So to kind of close us out here, just given your experiences the last year, right? You know, this time last year, what's something that you would have told yourself that, you know, some piece of advice or motivation, you know, January 2024, before you knew what the year was going to hold, before you met Coach Dom, before you had some other opportunities, you know, it's stressful, right? To run your own business, not knowing what tomorrow may hold sometimes. And so going into this year, you know, 2025, we just started it. So what's one piece of advice that, you know now that you wish you knew this time last year?
A lot of stuff happened in 2024. I'm not going to lie. And I'm not going to say everything was bad, because I definitely had some highs as well. So, but I think the question of January 2024 till now, and the thing that I think about, and I think it's very important to people to understand, is be careful who you work with. Because I think a lot of times when we're overwhelmed and stressed out with something, we look for help, and then we're like, all right, let me just jump into this new opportunity without putting too much thought into it or too much research. And it ends up messing up your vision for the future. And we're very ambitious people. So we have a destination we want to get to, a vision that we have. And sometimes when we make fast decisions, they're not always the best decisions. So I ended up making a lot of fast decisions last year around this time. And it kind of slowed business down a lot because of these fast decisions, the people that I decided to work with. And honestly, I blame that all on myself, because I should have done my due diligence, and I should have been more patient with it, you know, because I had a good year, really good year, 2023, really good year in business. 2024 was not like that, because I got too impatient, and I just didn't play the cards right. So I would say definitely, like, everything moving forward now, I make sure that, and I'm grateful I learned that lesson, because I needed to learn that lesson, because now, you know, going in 2025, I mean, I already have a few clients right now, but if I really want to scale, it's like I don't want to just work with every single person.
Sure.
I want to make sure that the relationship is established very, very well beforehand.
Yep.
So I'm super, super like strict with that. I want to make sure that we're good. That's why going out to more networking events is very important to me, because making those connections and like how it was in 2023, that's where like I felt like very happy, and I felt like the business was pretty healthy. And then I ended up taking on too much people at the end of that. That's why I was like, I feel like I need more, and it's just ended up being kind of a train wreck. But it's definitely my fault. So I would say, just if you are overwhelmed with it, definitely take a step back a little bit. Kind of reevaluate everything. Cut some things out if you need to cut them out.
Sure.
And then just keep moving forward with it. Take a quick little vacation, 2-3 day vacation. I don't know. I don't know if people don't want reset. And then just get back to it. Instead of just making these brash decisions, really fast decisions, and ends up, kind of biting you in the ass at the end of the day.
Sure.
So you don't want that to happen. But yeah, I mean, everything is good though right now. Definitely. It's just definitely it was a kind of a roller coaster in a way, just like a lot of people, that deal with in business. But that's the biggest thing that I learned from last year to this year.
Patience is a virtue.
Yeah.
You know where you want to be, so just do the due diligence to make sure that opportunity aligns with what you already know is your plan. You know what I'm saying? 100%. So that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you taking the time to come sit down with me and chat about this. And
thank you for contacting me about this, bro. It was fun. I love the studio. I love what you're doing, man. Like and keep going with it, bro.
Yeah,
I know you're really building a lot of connections with the community. So I'm very excited to see where this podcast goes.
Appreciate it, man. We're gonna have you on again too, and we'll check in with the latest projects and all that good stuff. And hopefully, we've been slowly getting more and more comments on the YouTube episodes and stuff. So leave a comment, ask a question. Hopefully, you guys took something from this episode. I know there's a lot of creatives out there, and sometimes again the behind the scenes of where to start and what to do first, and just kind of learning from other people's ups and downs. You know what I'm saying? So again, appreciate the time, bro, and
thank you, bro.
Looking forward to see what you do this year, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do too, man.
Absolutely.
I know you got a lot of big goals. So.
We'll keep crushing it. Keep chopping.
Yeah,
all right,
for sure,
brother.
bro.
Thanks.